Yes, my people, welcome back to EMGM Sports. It's me, your boy Enzo, the realest in the game. Hope you're all doing well. This Saturday, the 25th of July, there's another big fight. It's the return of Errol Spence. He will be taking on Tim Tszyu down under. This is a very intriguing matchup, my people. Like, we have not seen Errol Spence in the ring coming up to, 3 years now since he lost against Terence Crawford. So it's going to be very interesting to see which version of Errol Spence we're actually going to get in this fight against Tim Tszyu. Are we going to get the Errol Spence that fought against Terence Crawford? Or are we going to get the Errol Spence pre-Crawford? It's going to be very interesting how he's been able to just keep himself motivated 3 years out of the ring, like ring rust. Would that affect him at all in this return fight against Tim Tszyu? What I will say though is I'm looking online and I'm seeing a lot of people favoring Errol Spence to go in there and get the job done against Tim Tszyu. But I'm going to say this, man. This ain't an easy fight. This ain't an easy fight for Errol Spence, man. We have not seen him in a ring, like I said, for 3 years. And the last time he was in a ring, he got battered by Terence Crawford. Let's keep it real. I know Tim Tszyu is not the level of a Terence Crawford. Nevertheless, we already know Tim Tszyu is all game. Do you know what I mean? He's going to come out there. He's going to put the pressure on Errol Spence, especially early on. The first couple of rounds 1 to 6, I think Tim Tszyu is just going to go all out, man. He has to test Errol Spence just to see where he is in terms of conditioning, his fitness, reflexes. Because when you're out of the ring that long, 3 years, after everything that's happened to Errol Spence as well with the car accident before the Crawford fight, he wasn't right. He wasn't 100% in that fight against Terence Crawford as well. Nevertheless, listen, he got battered. Credit to Terence Crawford, yeah. Tim Tszyu has to go out there on Saturday and just absolutely put the pressure on Errol Spence and really just test where he is mentally, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, just get him thinking early on. Get Errol Spence doubting himself. We're really going to find out what Errol Spence is made of, what he still has left in boxing. Because the last time we saw him out, he wasn't that good. He was not that impressive against Terence Crawford. And he got battered, man. Let's keep it real. So listen, I'm so intrigued by this matchup because Errol Spence, yeah, he's one of my favorite fighters. I always say to myself, where Terence Crawford is right now, yeah, the position that Crawford is in right now, fighting Canelo, becoming undisputed, etc., etc. I always envisioned Errol Spence being in that position. And many more other boxing fans saw the same way that I'm seeing things. Like, we thought Errol Spence was going to be that guy that would challenge Canelo eventually. I remember there was talks about him moving up to fight Canelo for years. There was always that talk. But then Crawford just came over and just thought, you know what? I've got other ideas, man. Here, hold my beer. Like, watch what I do to this guy. And it's a shame for Errol Spence, the fact that he lost against Terence Crawford. I thought there was going to be an immediate rematch. Go back in there. Yeah, you got battered. Yeah, you got outclassed. But go back into the drawing board. Do you know what I mean? Learn from your mistakes and come back for the rematch. But it just never materialized. It never happened, the rematch, for whatever reason. And here we are. 3 years later. Yeah, 3 years later, he's fighting against Tim Tszyu. And this is a risk because Errol Spence is trying to get his career back on track. He's trying to get back to the top, and a fight against Tim Tszyu for your comeback, mate, that is risky, man. I have to respect Errol Spence because Tim Tszyu, regardless of what anyone else has to say about Tim Tszyu, this guy is game. You know what I mean? Tim Tszyu, like, he's a dog, bro. He's gonna bring the fight, man. He's got that dog in him. You know what I mean? Even though boxing skills wise, he's a little bit limited. That's just my opinion. But he's game, he is game. I watched his fight against Sebastian Fundura where he was stopped in the 7th round, quit, whether the corner pulled him out, whatever you want to call it, quit, corner pulled him out, retirement, call it whatever you want to call, but Sebastian Fundura pulled a beating on him though. Do you know what I mean? He was getting outclassed in that fight. But since then, Tim Tszyu has recovered, like he's won his last 2 fights. And even though it's gone the decision, the full length, 10 rounds, but he looked good in those fights, especially against Dennis Noja. I think he looked good. He boxed really well. He didn't get a stoppage, but he got the rounds. You know what I mean? And he was able to go out there and dominate those fights. Obviously, Errol Spence is a different kettle of fish. You know, Errol Spence, you're talking about unified champion. You know what I mean? Like, he was the big dog 3, 4, 5 years ago. Errol Spence was the big dog at 147. Like, Tim Tszyu has a heck of a task. Don't get it twisted. He's got a heck of a task come Saturday to beat Errol Spence. But we just don't know where Errol Spence is right now. We don't know where he is mentally, like physically. We're going to find out Saturday night. And Tim Tszyu, he's got the opportunity to go out there and get a big name victory, man. Do you know what I mean? Get a big name in his resume in Errol Spence, and he can catch Errol Spence cold. He can catch Errol Spence lacking in this fight because I don't even think Errol Spence knows where he is. He might be feeling good. He might be sparring. You know, he's training. He's in camp. Yeah, I'm feeling good. But you never really find out until you get in the ring. You know, like I'm a boxing coach. I speak to so many fighters who, you know, leave huge gaps in between fights, yeah. And then you speak to them when they've got a fight coming up. They're like, yeah, I'm feeling good. I feel great. You know, camp is going well. But then they get in a ring and they put an absolute stinker. You're thinking to yourself, what was all that training about? Like, what the hell do we do in training? Like, camp went so well. Why'd you put up that level of performance, like shit performance? And that's because you never really find out where you truly are in terms of mentally, physically, until you get in the ring. Like, the ring is where you get judged. The ring is where you find out a lot about yourself. And Errol Spence, he's going to find out where he is, his position in boxing, whether he wants to carry on Saturday against Tim Tszyu down under. Like, this is a pressure cooker type of fight. You know, Tim Tszyu, like I said, he has to go all out. First 6 rounds, you go all out, man. I'll say to Tim Tszyu, like, empty the tank, man. You know what I mean? Empty the tank if you have to. Really put the pressure on Errol Spence. Really go for him, corner him, keep him in the ropes, throw bombs. Get Errol Spence doubting himself. Give Errol Spence flashbacks of the Terence Crawford fight. Give him those flashbacks, man. Because I know he's trying to just wipe that off his mind. You know what I mean? He does not want to have any memories of that beating from Bud Crawford. Like, he doesn't want any of that. What Tim Tszyu needs to do, his job is to remind him of that beating. Is to get him doubting himself, get him questioning himself. You know what I mean? Get him feeling sorry for himself. You know, to the point where he goes back to his corner and he's like, you know what? Mate, I don't know what's happening. What's going on here? I ain't got it no more. You know, that's Tim Tszyu's job, because I believe that once he goes past the 6, I think Errol Spence might gain that confidence, might say to himself, you know what? I still got it here. I'm still here. You know, and I believe the strength and power of Errol Spence will take over. Like, he will take over after the 6th round. He's gonna come on strong, and I could see him stopping Tim Tszyu. I can see him stopping Tim Tszyu, man. Tim Tszyu is one of those fighters. I just look at him. I'm like, you know what? When the pressure really gets to him, like, you know what? He can fold, man. Especially when he's fighting those fighters of a higher caliber. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, when the pressure gets to him, he can fold, and I believe that Errol Spence can get Tim Tszyu to fold late on. You know, this fight, how I see it going, early is Tim Tszyu, because the ring rust and all the doubts and the demons that Errol Spence has to overcome might just be too much for him in the early rounds. If, you know, so early might be Tim Tszyu, I'm going Tim Tszyu, but if the fight goes late, I'm going Errol Spence for the late stoppage, or just a dominant performance from the second half of the fight, because Errol Spence would have gained confidence, he would have made adjustments, and he'll just go on to dominate Tim Tszyu. That's just my predictions, man. That's my prediction for this fight. But it's so interesting because there's so many questions that boxing fans, you know, want answers to in regards to Errol Spence, and we're gonna find out on Saturday. You know, like, for Errol Spence, a defeat is almost like it's game over. Like, where does Errol Spence go from here if he was to lose against Tim Tszyu? Like, where does he go? You've been out of the ring for 3 years. Yeah, we don't know what the hell you've been doing. Even before the Crawford fight, he had the accident, the car crash. He He didn't look the same. He looked drained. He just looked like someone who was struggling with off the ring type of stuff here, personal stuff here. Then he goes in and gets battered against Terence Crawford. He doesn't take the rematch immediately, stays away from the game for about 3 years, making his comeback against Tim Tszyu. Loses that comeback. I mean, there's nowhere to go. I think, how old is Errol Spence? Errol Spence is now, let's check out. Errol Spence, I believe, is about what? Maybe 30, 35, 36 or something like that. You know what I mean? So he's not a spring chicken. You know what I mean? He's going towards the later stages of his career. And a defeat against Tim Tszyu, I think, for me personally, I think that's game over. I think that's over. You know, I just don't see no comeback from a defeat against Tim Tszyu. I think that will be it. It will be wraps. He's already been out of the ring for 3 years. A defeat on his comeback against a Tim Tszyu, it's a wrap. You know, but me personally, listen, I like Tim Tszyu, but I would like to say Errol Spence victory, because I feel like there's so many fights out there for Errol Spence, especially at 154 pounds against, you know, and his boots. Mate, there's so many fights out there for him. Virgil Ortiz, even Sebastian Fundora. That could be a fight, you know, for Errol Spence as well, you know, if he overcomes Tim Tszyu, which I think many fans out there are predicting Errol Spence to do a job on Tim Tszyu. But it won't be easy. It won't be easy. It's going to be challenging. It's a pressure cooker. Mentally, we're going to find out where Errol Spence is. Hey, you know, because boxing is psychological. Like, if he can't overcome the demons, then I'm afraid he's going to have a rude awakening when he goes in the ring against Tim Tszyu. Because Tim Tszyu, he's going to put everything on the line to get a victory. And a victory against Errol Spence, that will be the biggest scalp in his career, mate. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real, you know. And Tim Tszyu is getting Errol Spence at the right time, innit? Let's keep it real, because this is not a prime Spence. It's not a prime Spence. You know what I mean? He's been out of the ring 3 years. He got battered against Crawford. So he's on the decline. You know, so it's for Tim Tszyu, what an opportunity. What an opportunity to get a victory, man. But let me know your predictions in the comments, my people. Can Tim Tszyu pull this off? Like, can he actually go in there and defeat Errol Spence? Or do you think the boxing skills, the quality of Errol Spence will overcome the pressure of Tim Tszyu come Saturday? I'm going to be doing a live watch along as well for that fight. So come through. The link will be out on the community post on Friday. So check it out. Come over to EMGM Sports with your boy Enzo, the realest in the game, so we can watch the fight together. Or if you can't watch it because you're not bothered to pay the pay-per-view, I'm going to be doing a live commentary, so you can just listen up to me, just commentate on the fight. But yeah, come through. I really appreciate it. Once again, thank you so much for watching EMGM Sports. It's me, your boy Enzo, the realest in the game. Please don't forget to smash the likes. And if you're new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. I'll be back real soon with another one. Until then, stay blessed, my people. Peace.